This is the EWN Podcast Network.
Welcome to Late Boomers, our podcast guide to creating your third act with style, power, and impact. Hi, I'm Kathy Worthington.
And I'm Mary Elkins. Join us as we bring you conversations with successful entrepreneurs, entertainers, and people with vision who are making a difference in the world.
Everyone has a story, and we'll take you along for the ride on each interview, recounting the journey our guests have taken to get where they are, inspiring you to create your own path to success. Let's get started. Hi there. I'm Kathy Worthington, welcoming you to our latest episode of Late Boomers, alongside my co-host, Mary Elkins. If you often wonder how to achieve what you most desire, today's guest, Mariana Cooper, will share insights on how to make it happen. She'll be discussing a topic we haven't explored in depth before, the 5D universe.
And I'm Mary Elkins. Mariana, or Mari, as she likes to be called, is the author of The Aha Factor, Beyond Intuition, and the upcoming book, The 5D Toolkit. She's an internationally acclaimed intuitive life strategist and hosts the Aha Moments radio show. Welcome, Mari. We're excited to learn about 5D and how we can access it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Great to have you.
Please tell us about your background as a third-generation intuitive and how and when you realized you needed more in your life to help you survive.
Well, let's see. My mom was intuitive. My grandmother was also intuitive. And my mom actually studied with Shirley MacLaine when she came out with her miniseries Out on a Limb, and she kind of broke the ice of the mainstream into all things new age and metaphysical. So I was actually, while the other kids were being taken to the mall and to, various normal kids things, I was being taken to channeling sessions and psychic readings and crystal stores back in the 80s. I was in a crystal shop with my mom. She was at the front looking at crystals, and I was in the bookcase, in the books section, and a book literally fell off the shelf in my hands. And it was by Shakti Gawain called Living in the Light. I ended up eventually on my own show. I had her, she actually came on my show and was a guest on my show.
Oh, great. I remember her.
I remember reading. Yeah, she was definitely my entree into the new age world. And for about 10 years, I was working in corporate. And corporate, of course, pushes your limits. And it got to the point where I realized two things. One is that my mom always had a psychic, so I'd go to these psychic readings with her. And I started to realize I had more of the answers than the psychic did, or the psychic was saying the things that I was getting myself. The second thing that I noticed was that my intellect, as smart as I was, I have an MBA, I have a BA in psychology, my mother's a psychotherapist, so I had all this background. The answers, my life was far exceeding what the answers of the intellect could get me. And I think that's what happens as we get older and, more mature, and our lives start to get more complex, and we get off of the career ladder that is prescribed for us and the family prescription of how you should be to be good in the family. Like my parents want us to have master's degrees and all that. And when you step off of the syllabus of life and life starts to hit you, we step through a gateway where our intellect can no longer answer. And you start to go into those spaces of, who am I? Where do I fit in? Is this all there is? Are you kidding me? I thought I would be here by now. And then the biggest inciting incident was when my fiance passed away in my early 30s. And we had our whole lives planned together. And when he passed away, I went for a year around to different mediums, asking that, see if I could connect to him, and because I could feel something. And each medium, I was on waiting lists for like 6 months, one of them for a year, George Anderson, one of the biggest mediums there was at the time. And every medium I went to, they said, he won't come through for us. He wants you to talk to him directly. So the last medium that I went to was at the Learning Annex in New York City. She was teaching a class, and it was on my fiance's, what would have been his birthday. And I said to him, if you don't come through today, I'm never going to try again. Like, I'm done. I've been doing this for a year. And it worked out that she made us swap pictures in the class, and we each had to read each other. I thought we were just going to get readings from her. And I ended up reading everyone in the class and being able to pick up, So she actually offered me a job at the end of the class to help to apprentice with her. So from that point, that night, I wrote 30 pages. I just kept writing and writing and writing. They're actually still next to my bed now, and this was a long time ago. They're all yellowed. And that was my kind of foray into the actual channeling part, where I was realizing there was a way to communicate.
Were the pages coming from him?
Yeah. Yep.
Were you writing what he was saying?
I was writing guidance to what he was saying. And for a while, and then I got certified as a medium. I went and I got certifications and stuff because that's just how I was raised. You're not legit until you get a certification. But I realized that the mediumship was just an entree. And as I started teaching and building out my practice, and I left corporate America and I went into the whole spiritual thing full time, I realized that there was even more, that we have an energetic communication system that we're meant to be tapping into 80% of the time, as opposed to our intellect, which is supposed to be used 20% of the time. But we're not taught that. So we're all walking around kind of out of balance. And, and I won't go too far. I can go on and on, so I'll stop here.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, tell our audience briefly what an intuitive is. And then you were about to talk about the 5D world, right? That's what you are an expert in, but also there's a 3D world that we seem to operate in 3 dimensions. Can you explain those and talk about what the difference is?
Sure. So essentially, the first major tenet that I always lean into is the premise. When most of us are exposed to some sort of formal religion when we're growing up. So I was raised Catholic. There's obviously there's 7, 8, 9 major religions. We're kind of steered at least in the direction of we're this physical body first, and then there's some sort of spiritual thing in us, the spirit, the Holy Spirit, whatever. And then there's a God over there, and there's this division. And in between the spirit within us and the God over there is the rabbi or minister or priest or some guy in there, that we have to kind of get through to get to that bigger thing. And it has to be interpreted back to us. And so the first premise I have is, if there was, and just bear with me because I'm going to get to the answer, but this is how I do it. If God was going to make the God of your understanding, source energy, was going to create 8, 9 different major religions, 600 different ways of divination, all sorts of ways to ask for questions, to ask for things, to ask set intentions, to ask, to pray, to ask. Wouldn't he make at least one robust way of getting the answers back? Like, why would you create a one-way conversation with billions of people? It just doesn't make any sense. And so the answer is yes. And every religion, every spiritual, system, modality has its way of receiving the answers back. And that's where the power is getting the answers. Right. And so that's where we got the middlemen in between, is they slow down the answers. Oh, you have to go through me to get the answer. Oh, you have to go through her to get the answer. So the first thing is, the way that we're really structured is we're these big giant balls of energy that's eternal. So that whole we live forever, we're all eternal, we're all infinite. And then as this big giant ball of energy, each one of us, we want to do 2 things. We want to expand and we want to ascend. We want to become more conscious of access to our energetic selves. So in order to do that, we take on a thimble of a body. So instead of it being a spirit within the body, it's actually a body within the spirit, within that energy. And a portion of that energy becomes the driver of that body car. The rest of us stays outside of that body car as the navigation system. So our higher self, our bigger self, our divine self, whatever you want to call that, is outside of this body car and as a portion of itself acting as the driver inside the animating energy of our bodies. So that's why our bodies move when we think and we speak. That's our consciousness, right? So our consciousness that's animating our body is also the consciousness that's navigating us and helping us to navigate throughout our world. So when we talk about dimensions, third dimension and below is where things are tangible, solid matter, solid, and it's not really solid. That's another day's conversation, too big for the show. But
Body.
so matter.
Too big for our show.
Yes, well, it's too big for, it's just too long.
Yeah.
You know? So, and then we have the fifth dimension. I'll get into fourth in a second, but the fifth dimension and above is where everything is non-physical. It's all there, but it's not in a tangible, shaped physical form. So the car that you're going to get next year right now is in 5D frequency. When you decide to get it, then it moves through 4D frequency into 3D frequency. So that's how so 4D is the transit point between the two. So it's where we transfer from energetic form into physical form. And so the language, there's an energetic communications language that swings back and forth between the two. And that's when we get into intuition and the ability to personally channel and et cetera. So 5D frequency is where it's non-physical. 3D frequency is where we're physical. 4D is the transit point. So they say to meditate, they say to go out and get centered, to get into mindfulness. Well, what does that do? It raises your vibration so you get into the corridor, into the tunnel of the 4D, so that the 5D can connect. So the 5D drops itself down and slows itself down. But in order for us to get more of all this manifesting, all these things that we want, we need to speed our vibration up. And that's what happens kind of in that in between spot. So when you just get quiet, when you're observing your grandchild and you're just experiencing their smile or their giggle, you're raising your frequency, you're connecting in. That gets you in the fourth dimensional energy. You'd be amazed at how many things, just, watching your pet, petting your dog, petting your cat, making a wonderful dinner that's really nourishing and just feeling like, okay, I'm going to make the homemade tomato soup today and I'm actually going to put cream in, all that kind of stuff. That raises the physical vibration. It quickens you so that as you're stirring that pot, you get that insight into that question that you thought, oh yeah, you know what? Oh, that's what I could do, because you're raising the overall energy. So then you make yourself available to the information that you might be missing in that solid area. Does that?
You're raising your joy.
Right. Joy is high frequency. Joy is at one of the highest frequency emotions. So that's kind of
a very, very good explanation of that.
Yeah.
Very good. And what would you say are the energetic abilities that we were born with, but we were never told about?
Oh, this is my favorite question. So, okay, buckle up, because you have so much more.
Okay, I got my belt.
You know how when people say, "Oh, she has a gift," "Oh, they have the gift," "Oh, it's not a gift." All that really is, "Oh, she's developed her senses." "Oh, she's developed her senses." We are all born with all of the energetic senses. So, first things first, what I discuss in 5D frequency is not psychic development. So this is not about predicting anything. This is not mediumship where you're talking to people who have crossed over. This is energetic physiology. So it's frequency-based physiology. So our bodies were born with an equivalent frequency sense. So we have energetic sight, energetic hearing. We even have energetic taste, energetic smell, energetic touch, energetic knowing. We call those, there's more than four, but we call those basically the four clairs. Energetic sight is clairvoyance. Energetic hearing is clairaudience. Energetic feeling, like in your gut, women, you kind of feel it in your gut. That's clairsentience. And energetic knowing, where somehow you just don't know how you know. Like, I don't have kids, but I helped one of my kids potty train his kid. And I told him like verbatim what to do, and the kid was like potty trained 3 days later, and he had been struggling with it and everything. I didn't know how I knew. I just knew. It just downloaded to me. So that's a knowing, right? When you get those knowings. So those
And
4
what's that one
clairs,
called? What's that one called?
that's clear cognizance.
Okay.
Clear cognizance, like
Thank you.
clear energetic cognition.
Mhm.
Now, energetic sight is when you get like deja vu, or you can see something like peripherally, or you just get a vision of something, and then it ultimately seems to come into fruition. Energetic hearing, clear audience, hearing lyrics of a song in your ear. If you start hearing like a ear song, they call them earworms. You hear, see, tune into that. Because often when you're being invited to discover your energetic senses and they're starting to try to turn on to support you in answering those unanswerable questions, you're going to start to hear, your higher self will send you songs in your ear to help you to get to some more of a contextual message.
Wow, I didn't realize that. I get those all the time.
Yeah.
But I didn't
So,
realize the connection.
yep. So you have these 4 energetic those 4 energetic senses. Now, your higher self, that part of you that's not embodied but is helping you navigate, always connects to those senses first. I call this the anatomy of the aha moment. So it always connects, number 1, the first way you're going to get a message sent to you. And we're always getting messages, over 100 messages being sent to you every day. And the way that the first step of that message is always your energetic senses first. That's where it originates. So, but if you haven't had those developed, the second tier of that message is your body response. So your body might feel a sense of lightness, or or goosebumps, or a sense of heaviness, or a sense of heat. Like if you get into something and you feel like, that little heat feeling when you're angry, when you feel that first tick, that's your energetic sense. That's your physicality responding to the energetic sense that came first. And then the third part of the aha moment is that your higher self will go out into your environment, and it'll start to send you signs and symbols and synchronicities, synchronistic events, to reinforce the hunch, what you consider to be a hunch, or that knowing or that feeling you got. Your higher self will say, yes, there it is, by giving you a sign, a symbol, a synchronicity. And we have all various different, versions of those for ourselves. But it's always number 1, it goes to your energetic senses first. Number 2, your body says mails in with, it getting some sort of sense. And then number 3 is your environment.
Is this
So what's the thing that's missing in the educating of ourselves and our children about the 5D world? What's missing?
Everything, as far as what your senses are, and then how to lean into them. Because your energetic senses, what I just described, generally you're not even told about those until you're trying to go to psychics to get answers to why the guy isn't texting you, why your kid decided he doesn't want to go to church anymore, why your mother-in-law is just never letting go, why this is happening at work, why the career went south, or the job went this way and you want it that way, or all of those. When you hit those wall questions, which is why when I had originally written to you guys, I said that we go through this gateway, especially I think women who are over 40 and going to their 50s become more intuitive as they get older, because they've hit all of the markers that were supposed to happen, all the things that were supposed to happen in our regular ladder lives, the career ladder, the family ladder, the political, all the different ladders. Those hit a wall, because then we're being invited to our true authentic selves, to our true voice, to our true callings, to our true, and a calling is different than a passion. So when we start to get into those areas where intellect can't do the answers, that's when all of these senses, the volume turns up. It doesn't mean that they turn on, because they've been on all along. Like you're going, you can think of times in your childhood where you were in harm's way, and you got yourself out of harm's way, but you didn't know how you did it, but you just knew, like, you were about to step off a curb and you don't, and a truck goes by, or you get lost and somehow some stranger helps you and then they're not there anymore. All those kinds of different stories. That
and they
was
still happen.
Well, yeah, because But that's how your whole energetic side of your life is walking alongside of you. And the ability to communicate with that higher self consciously is what we call personal channeling or freeform channeling. That it's like that goes. What my new book is called Beyond Intuition. So we go beyond the point of the basic intuition into actual energetic communication, and
Well,
that's
let's
meant to be
talk
a
about that.
narrator for us. I'm
Talk,
sorry.
but talk a little bit more about your energetic communication system and something you call the energetic dashboard.
Yes. Okay. So the energetic dashboard. So when I talked about getting in the body car, right? So we inhabit our body car, and what happens is when we allow that animating energy to take on a lifetime. So now I'm taking on a lifetime as Mary. I'm taking on the lifetime as Kathy. Taking on this lifetime as Mari. So each one of us, from our higher selves, from our own full self, assigns a portion of us. Okay, you're going to drive the car this time. The rest of me is going to stay out here and help you navigate. And we're going to get some stuff done. So when you step into your body car, you have tools. In the body car, what you have on the 3D side of the dashboard is your physical senses, all of your biology and your physiology, and all of the negative emotions, blame, shame, guilt, fear, anxiety, all of that, jealousy, all of that goes on the 3D side. That's an experience that you can have that creates those contrasting learning experiences. That's governed by your mental mind. So your intellect, your ability to analyze, your ability to remember the past. Your mental mind governs the 3D side of the dashboard. It's meant to be a logistician. It's meant to be a historian. So you have all your, remember the past. And it's meant to watch it's like a discernment tool. So it watches what other people do. And that's why you'll say, oh, I'm not going to buy that blender until I check Amazon and check the reviews. And then I'm going to ask Sadie which one she got. And if she got the one I'm thinking, then I'll get it. So your mental mind is limited, though. It can't come up with its own new ideas. It can't come up with solutions. That's not what it's meant to do. It's meant to look at the past, keep you safe, and make sure that you're kind of in keeping with everybody else. It's kind of an organizer, so logistician. You have a second half of your dashboard, though, when you're embodied. And that is your 5D dashboard. That's your energetic dashboard. And that's governed by your higher self. So that's connecting to the infinite. All of your new ideas, all the creative things that you come up with comes from the higher self. And on that side of the dashboard, you get what I call travel size versions of what you can do when you're not in the body. Travel size versions of your energetic tools that you have when you're not driving around in a body car. So that is your energetic communication system, which I'll get back into a second, your ability to manifest, or do alchemy, which is bringing things from the non-physical into the physical for your personal use, your energetic healing, your ability to heal yourself, and the energetic, there's what we call energetic infrastructure. So we have physical infrastructure, which is time, space, linearity, gravity, laws of cause and effect, laws of Newtonian physics. But on the energetic side, we have an energetic infrastructure. No time, no space, no linearity. Everything happens in the present moment. So you've heard both of these. You hear both of these. They're meant to braid together and integrate. And the energetic communication piece breaks down into 3 parts. And that's so that those two sides can communicate with each other. So the first part is intuition. That's when you say 444, you get the aha moments, you see 3033 all the time, all of that. That's just the ringtone on the phone. That's not the message. So if you see these numbers, 444, 711, oh my God, so-and-so called, it's saying ding, 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 there's a bigger message.
There was a ringtone when you said that, by the way.
Yeah, I know that happened. I'm sorry. That was on my.
It was perfect timing.
The thing is, I shut down my email before I got on the call because I didn't want to have the ringtone going off, and there it goes off anyway.
I want to know, for those of us who are trying to get into the 5D world, what are the 5 signs that tell that your higher self is trying to get a message to you?
Well, I think that's what I was just saying with the anatomy of the aha moment. So The first thing is it goes to your four clairs, to your energetic senses first. The second thing is you're going to feel it in your physical body. The third thing, it's going to use signs, symbols, and synchronicities in your environment. And it's also going to use messengers. So if you are not fluent, like right now, I have over 2,000 messages on my phone from my higher self because I channel full contextual messages. So instead of writing it in a diary anymore, I will record it. But if you don't have that ability, you're not, channeling your higher self will send you messengers so that it can get you more contextual information. So it's not just a little 444 or sorry saying, oh, is that a sign? Oh, did I just see a blue butterfly? What does that mean? Instead of that, you have a messenger come and say, hey, I think you should do this, this, and this. And you don't even know this person. Those are synchronistic things. So that's what your higher self uses to get the messages to you.
Yeah.
But we have to be alert to those. So is there a simple way people can access their energetic communication system and activate their 5D frequency?
Yes. So there's a framework that I have. It's 4 parts: clear, connect, communicate, create. So clearing, our energetic maintenance is like our physical maintenance. We need energetic hygiene as much as we need physical hygiene. So making sure that we do daily clearing of our energy and our frequency is going to help us to be able to get clearer messages, to get a deeper connection. The second piece, the second C, is connect. And that's where when you say, meditate or at least get still, one of the fastest ways, you don't have to have hours of meditation, but the fastest way to connect, it's like saying, okay, I go to a store and I need a Wi-Fi signal. And it's like, okay, I can't connect until I make sure the Wi-Fi is on. So it's your own personal energetic Wi-Fi, essentially, when I say connect. One of the easiest ways to do that is to take a deep breath, count backwards from 10 to 1. And that puts you right into the alpha state, and it slows down the beta consciousness and it brings up the alpha state. And that's the connecting level to your higher self. And then communicate is where you start to get the messages. And the best thing you can do, keep a list of what you get. So if you feel like, oh, I got a hunch, write it down, because then that gets your physiology involved and it gives permission to your higher self to turn the volume up because you're paying attention. It knows. And as soon as it knows that corridor is open for communication, where you're consciously saying, hey, yes, I'm interested in getting these messages, the volume turns up and you get it. And then the final piece, the final C, is create. And create is where you take inspired action. So your higher self will say, hey, go read this book or go talk to this person or say yes to that interview or say no to that interview. When you take that inspired action, then it'll give you the next step. And so those
are there words you can say at all to get you there?
What do you mean?
Just like, we all say that we have to have the right words when we communicate in order to have more confidence in ourselves or to live a better life. And it depends on what you say quite often and what you think, the words that you use to yourself. And I'm wondering, are there words that you use to get into this?
No, I think it's more feel. I can feel it. I guess if you were going to use a word, I would say I'm willing to know, or tell me what I need to know most right now. That's a really good one. Another really good one is tell me what I'm missing, that if I knew it would shift everything.
Ooh, I like that.
So I always, when I'm really stuck, and I'm like, okay, I'm hitting up against the wall. And I it happens to me too, and I, as fluent as I am in all of this, and I can channel back and forth. Like I can talk to you like this and channel, like even as you're talking to me now, I'm channeling the answers, I'm like tuning into like, okay, what's for the highest and greatest good of the audience, for you all, for the shortest amount of words and the most amount of clarity, that type of thing. Sometimes I miss with the short words. I follow it. I get excited. Okay. But yeah, as far as words, open-ended questions is the best. If you say, what's the answer? You never want to use the word answer. You say, what's the guidance? Because that gives
dial in.
That gives spaciousness,
guidance,
to content coming to you. So you say, what's the answer? Actually, what's the answer tunes in your 3D senses. because you're rewarded as a child for decisiveness. Do you have the answer? No, then you're an idiot. You should have the answers. But as you get older, we realize that the answers aren't necessarily answers. The answers are the next step to a bigger picture.
Right.
The
Right.
channel of guidance. So that's what guidance is probably the better word.
Guidance. Yeah.
What's a way that you can people can access their energetic communication system and activate the 5D?
So the activation part, what? I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I just repeated it. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, well, as far as the activation part, I think one of the quickest ways, I mean, there's plenty of advanced ways and more fancier ways, but one of the quickest ways, what I was saying before, is just counting backwards from 10 to 1.
Oh, yeah.
And getting still, like stopping your body. So silence plus stillness equals synchronicity.
I like that.
Silence plus stillness. So your silence in the sense of you stop talking, your stillness where you stop moving equals synchronicity, which is that communication system opening up because it's giving you signs, symbols, synchronicities, and messengers, right? So my little formula is silence plus stillness equals synchronicity. And it doesn't mean that you have to stop your life. You can be driving and do this. And this is why I mean this. When you're driving and you're fixated, you're still. If you turn off the radio and the phone and the texts and the recorders and the voice memos and your kids you're in the car by yourself, and you can have silence of stimuli.
I like that.
As long as you pay attention to the traffic.
Right. Well, that's kind of almost part of your physiology because you've been driving for so long, right? You're like, you're reflexive. It's become reflexive unless you're just learning how to drive. You're pretty reflexive. Have you ever driven to the grocery store and realized I was supposed to go to the cleaner, but I do this every day. And somehow the car drove itself to the store, because you're so, it's such a,
all the time.
It's a reflex. That's why you can be so meditative when you're driving. It's a great time to be tuned in. All you have to do, let's say you want to try this, you want to play with this. First of all, keep a notebook nearby, like a little memo pad or something, just so you can jot things down. But when you get to your destination, but all you have to do when you get in the car is say, okay, higher self, I'm open. I'm gonna no radios, no, Tesla and has Netflix, no stimuli. I'm just going to be here. And you're going to download to me.
No Netflix.
Right. Yeah. What I need to know. No emails.
I do that quite often.
Say what?
I do that quite often. Is that the aha factor? Yeah. Is that what the aha factor is? And how can we use it to have more moments per day like that?
I think when it comes to the aha factor is recognizing that there's a frequency-based aspect of everything that we do, right? So the aha factor is essentially inviting that structure of the aha moment that I was talking about earlier into your experience. And the only way that you can really get all of this stuff to happen is to give it permission to happen, because otherwise, if you don't ask, it can't come through the energy. You always have the freedom of your free will. Right? Now, interestingly enough, on what side of the dashboard do you think the free will was inserted on? It's not on the 5D side. The free will is on the 3D side. So you can veto anything that you're getting from the 5D, like, hey, take this or try this thing. You can say no. That's on the 3D side. So the way that you're going to activate your aha factor is by recognizing that, I'm going to give permission to the frequency to become conscious for me so that I can use it to navigate the physical world. You're supposed to be, the ratio is supposed to be 80% energetic and 20% physical in how we navigate our worlds. But because people aren't educated enough in energy and frequency-based physiology, they're overworking the 20%. And that's why we have anxiety and ADD and exhaustion and numbness and burnout and all that, because we're overamping what wasn't supposed to be carrying the whole load. We're asking too much of our intellects and our you know, our psyches to do
Yeah.
the piece that the energy is supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Well, tell us more about how we can receive messages from our higher selves and know how to interpret them and become aware of the false messages we receive so we can manifest what we want.
Oh, that's a lot. It's like 4 shows.
I know. It's a lot.
So,
It
well,
is.
can you repeat the first part of that question?
How can we receive messages from our higher selves?
So that would be asking, right? So one of it, so there's a couple ways I can do two good tips. One is when I leave the house, I say, as I'm closing the door, may I come back wealthier than I left.
Ah, in all
May I
ways.
come
Nice.
back with more clarity than I left. May I come back with the answer that I've been seeking. You know, when I get home, I'll have the answer that I've been seeking, or I've had the guidance that I've been seeking. Right? You can do this as you're getting in the car. By the time I come back, may I have blah blah blah. More than what I left. So that's one way. I find that when you assign that and then you leave it alone, right? So you're like, when I get home, I'm gonna know more than what I left. Then you leave it to your higher self to configure what that looks like. If you get too handsy with it, you get your intellect in the way, and you can't, and your intellect is limited. You shut off the access to the infinite information that has the answers. Your intellect can
And that
only
usually happens because we don't trust the process. We're not trusting it.
Or you don't know the process. You can't trust what you haven't been taught and haven't been given some chance to build some confidence in. So you're not going to, necessarily jump right in and say, oh, I'm so confident in all the stuff this woman is saying on YouTube. What you're going to say is, hey, I'm curious about this. Guess what curiosity does? It tunes into your inner child. Guess where your higher self always stops first is your inner child. Why? Because your inner child is the most open. Your inner child always operates from the heart. So if we're over adulting, so there's child, the inner child, there's feminine, that's your visionary, and there's masculine, that's your tasker. Most of us, especially ambitious women, are overamping in the masculine tasker, completely not listening to the inner child at all because they think it's frivolity. And then we do, dabble in the vision, but we won't let our vision go too big because it might require too many tasks. So what we want to try to do is balance the child, the feminine, and the masculine. And again, bigger days conversation, but one of the best ways for your higher self to get to you is to play, to let yourself plant that plant, bake that bread, get the chicken, get the pig, whatever.
And the last part of the question was, how are we becoming aware of the false messages that we may receive?
Okay, so here's there's true guidance versus false guidance. Everybody, when people ask me, one of the most popular questions people ask me is, well, how can I trust this guidance that you're talking about? How do I know if it's true or if it's my anxiety, that type of thing. So let me talk about what false guidance feels like. So false guidance always happens outside of the body. And it's more like a cartoon caption. So let's say you're afraid of something going on in the world, so you go into the what ifs. And the what if, you immediately go up here, like, what if this, and what if that, and what if this? And then we start to analyze, and then we start to look for substantiation. We'll look at those statistics, and it spins, and it goes fast, and it changes back and forth. That's when you know it's false guidance. It's not connected. True guidance is always in the body, deep in the body, like around your belly button. So false guidance is going to have you focused outside of yourself and up. True guidance is going to feel down past that, in between. I call it the heart corridor, from your throat down to your belly button. That's the heart. That's your truth meter, is from here to here, from your throat to your belly button. So when you're saying, okay, is this true? Like, did he just say to me this? Now, is that true? Instead of saying, is that, I think so, say, how do I feel? That feels good to me, or that doesn't feel good to me, as opposed to, I think it is, or I don't think. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, how does that feel? If somebody
Right.
says, in my class, I always teach them, these are the words you're allowed to say, and these are the words you're not allowed to say anymore. And that makes sense is going to tune you into 3D. That feels right, or that feels like the right direction, tunes you into the 5D. So
Yeah.
thinking and decisiveness is 3D oriented, and feeling and knowing is 5D oriented.
Mm. Oh, that's really powerful. Is there a step-by-step system in your 5D, let me say that again, 5D toolkit on how to access the frequencies? Is that something that I believe you might have touched upon?
Yeah. So the book that I have is, actually went, I'm not sure where. So originally it was called the 5D Toolkit, but I published it as Beyond Intuition, just so you
Oh,
know.
got it.
So,
Okay.
and within the Beyond Intuition that we talk about the 5D Toolkit. And so, and tell me what the question was again. Sorry.
I think you covered it, talking about the levels of the 5D frequencies and how to access them, and I really think you covered it.
Yeah. No, it's all in there. It's all step by step. Actually, in the book, also it gives you step by step to get your first fully downloaded message from your higher self, and a frequency assessment, because so you
Oh,
can kind of see what you're already using, where you're at, and what you might be missing so far.
oh, that sounds
Okay.
great. And tell
Yeah.
us about your high frequency living academy and advanced alchemy masterminds and how you've helped people with
You
those.
guys are so generous. I appreciate you asking these questions.
Oh, thank you.
So I have two things going on. One is the High Frequency Living Academy. I really am a true. My highest passion and mission is to get people as fluent in the language of their higher self as they are in their own intellectual self. And when you integrate the two, that's when you have truly magical living. That's when you have the full breadth of access to all the things that you came here to do. And so I built the academy around, first, part one is just getting you connected to the energetic communication system and getting into that, into being able to perceive your higher self and recognize when it's there and how to access it, and then how to interpret the messages it sends and how to have the confidence to take action on those messages. Once you get that connection with your higher self, you now have a narrator for your life. You literally can say, "What the hell was that?" And they're like, "Okay, well, let's talk," and it can give you that stream of consciousness to support you in the various things that you're going through in your life. Then, once you take care of that, I want you to get your stuff. So that's step two in the academy. Focus on manifesting. That means you have to fill your bucket list first. What happens with a lot of light workers and people who are interested in light leadership or in helping other people is they first try to go out and help each other people before they're willing to receive for themselves. It should be the other way around. I want you to have the tools to learn how to manifest for yourself. We work on a 300-piece bucket list. You write out 300 things on your bucket list,
Wow.
and we focus on the manifesting,
Mm.
the manifesting practices in order to start to fill up your coffers. And once you know how to do that, then you naturally start to say, okay, how may I serve? How can I support? Something hits a chord and you say, oh, that. And that's when we move from passion to mission. So your
Mm.
passion is for your own personal discovery. Your passions, whether can be anything from knitting to skiing to riding horses to ballroom dancing to cooking to raising kids, whatever. But your passion is really your own personal learning journey in some sort of incubator. So it might be the incubator of tennis. And some days you're really good at tennis, and some days you suck at tennis, and then you hurt your ankle and you have to heal and you learn about healing. It's a learning capsule. The mission, though, is different than a passion. A mission is when it's an invitation from your higher self to be in partnership for the greater good. So
Mm.
although I love ballroom dancing. I did competitive ballroom dancing for 15 years. I flew all over the world competing. I danced with a lot of the stars on Dancing with the Stars when they were still competing themselves. I know a lot of them personally. It was not my
Mm-hmm.
calling. It was my passion.
Mm-hmm.
I could lose money. I could make money. I could spend all kinds of money and never make it back. I could fly all over the place. As hard as I worked, it was not my mission to be a competitive ballroom dancer.
But they can interact, can they not?
They can, however, a mission pulls out in front of you, and a mission is fueled by a different thing. Because a mission now, in a passion, you can fail, and it's actually part of the package for passion because it's part of the learning curve. In a mission, you can't, because a mission is built for the greater good. A mission is also self-financed. So a mission, you will have money sent to you to get it done. And that's where you start to know, okay, this is something bigger. This is taking on a life of, you hear people say, this is taking on a life of its own. Like this started off with something I thought was a passion. But what a lot of people do is they try to take a passion or a hobby and force it to be income producing. And then they lose money and they make money and it kind of doesn't go because it's not necessarily a mission. So your higher self, when you're on to mission world, after you've filled up your tank, then it's like, I always say, if you're going to help other people, it's like a mug of beer. You help them from the foam that's coming over the side of the glass, not from what's in the glass itself. You need to drink what's in the glass itself. And then the excess is what you have as the surplus to go and present to other people.
I have
like the oxygen mask on the plane.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah.
I have to ask you, though, what about relationships? What if you see someone else's higher self, but their 3D that you feel and see doesn't relate to the 5D? What do you say about that? How do you get that to work together?
So are you asking for a relationship that you're in, or are you asking for like...
I'm just asking that because I see where people can be really powerfully gifted with a 5D sensibility, and yet they don't act that way in the real
Okay,
world.
well, there's a lot of different reasons. A good chunk of that is because they need to do some clearing. So the first thing I do when I bring people in, we all do a specific clearing so that you can get rid of all of those old points of reference. And then that gives you new access without the kind of the boulders in the way and all the yeah, buts, what if onlys, the worthiness stuff. We need to kind of get that out of the way. When it comes to relationships, though, it's interesting to watch other people. The best thing you can do, and this is part of energetic infrastructure. Again, it's a bigger concept, but I'll say it anyway. As you elevate yourself, everyone in your space starts to elevate as well, or they drop away. Right. And it's very interesting. Like my mom, she was, third generation, she was the second generation intuitive and all of that, but she rejected it at some point. I think she got into some really dark times in her life. She said, okay, that something's not working. And she kind of went back into what I call muggledom, and just kind of shut it down. And I was like on a runaway train with the spirituality. And she's like, so she became quite critical. And, for a while, it really stumped me. It was really hurtful. It was hurtful, quite frankly. It created a lot of friction. And she had all these talents and abilities. She's a psychotherapist. She could channel her psychotherapy sessions and often did. But I studied with a teacher and he said, look, focus on elevating yourself. And then your frequency raises, your attraction level raises, and you'll attract the level of person that you are. So everybody has versions of themselves. And as I raised my vibration, as I learned more of this, by the time my mom, was in her later stages of life, she did the same thing. It was like a totally different person. She started meditating. She started, reading books. I helped a little bit, but I didn't help that much. But because I was elevating and I was focusing on myself, it was a magnetic, and this is how frequency works. We magnetize who we are. We can, we attract who we are and the version of those people. Sometimes if, your spouse will start, it won't be right in sync, but as you raise, you'll notice like on his own or on her own, they start to raise on their own. Otherwise, other times they'll drop away, and you'll be like, well, okay, right? Not
Mm-hmm.
it's just meant to split. That was a season. But frequency is a
Mm-hmm.
very interesting thing. It's magnetic, and there's all different versions of all of us. So I think that, you don't have to worry about kind of fixing other people or convincing someone that they need to do this too. You never want to really do that. You can introduce it, but the more you do it yourself, you become that magnet, and they start to. It's stunning to see how people start to behave differently when you start to shift those.
Yeah, and thank you for giving us several examples of how to elevate the higher self, because I would never have thought of making soup to be something, one of those things. So, in fact, I was going to ask you what you would like our audience to have as a takeaway today. Maybe you could list some more things that they can do to access their higher selves, or anything else you want as a takeaway. It doesn't have to be that.
I think the thing that's most important to remember, especially now when we have such volatile times that we're all going to, and I've been doing a tremendous amount of political conversations with all of this too. That, again, another day's conversation. We don't have to do this now. The most important thing you can do right now is to double down on your dreams. Double down. If you're in a business, it's time to pivot. You have to be willing to pivot and say, and this, you don't have to be fluent in the language of your higher self, but you just say this sentence is, show me where I can best shine at this time. Show me where I can best shine at this time. And you will be supplied. This isn't lasting forever. This will take, it's going to have its run. But as far as light leaders are concerned, like I have a new Light Leaders Council, and I have a membership group, High Frequency Living with Mari membership. I have an agent that I'm signed with in LA. And I said, and he set me up for a meeting with a publicist, and she said, oh, well, describe yourself. I said, well, I'm kind of like Joanna Gaines and Joe Dispenza had a baby. That would be me. It's like the high frequency homestead, like get with the chickens and the horses and the dogs, but, like be talking to the higher self. And she said, oh my gosh, I get that. So important to be willing to hybrid yourself, like hyphenate yourself. Be willing to say, yeah, high frequency living and farming at the same time. That's me. Or, you could be writing a book or painting, pull out your paints again. All the things that you say, I'm going to get to that. I just have to focus on this for now. Pull the I'm going to get to that ones out. Because what that does is, without all this intellectual stuff that I'm talking about, like all these how-tos, it naturally sticks you right into that arena of the field.
Yeah.
It makes you available to those insights. It lifts your optimism. You radiate out, and the best gift that you can give anyone is your own joy. Because then you're an example and a permission slip for what they can do for themselves.
Oh, that's perfect. A perfect way.
Thank you for that.
To end our show. Thank you so much, Mari. Our guest today on Late Boomers has been Mariana Cooper, a third-generation intuitive life strategist, radio host, founder of the High Frequency Living Academy and the Advanced Alchemy Masterminds. She's the author of The Aha Factor and Beyond Intuition. And if you want to reach Mariana, go to her website, beyondintuitionbook.com. Is that right, Mari?
That's correct. That's right. Thank you so much.
She's got a lot of info on there for you. So check it out. And tune in next week when we'll be meeting with publisher John Bond. Please subscribe to our Late Boomers podcast on YouTube. Take us along in the car and on walks on your favorite audio platform. Let us know what gets you inspired. We're on Instagram at I am Kathy Worthington and at I am Mary Elkins and at Late Boomers. Please send the link to the Late Boomers podcast to your friends who may not yet be listening to podcasts. And thanks so much again, Mari.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so much fun.
Such a pleasure. Thank you for joining us on Late Boomers, the podcast that is your guide to creating a third act with style, power, and impact. Please visit our website and get in touch with us at lateboomers.biz. If you would like to listen to or download other episodes of Late Boomers, go to ewnpodcastnetwork.com.
This podcast is also available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and most other major podcast sites. We hope you make use of the wisdom you've gained here and that you enjoy a successful third act with your own style, power, and impact.